Today's preview project uses a magnet sheet with designer series paper, some embellishments, and a leftover DVD case to create a little scrapbook with magnetic embellishments. The way this works is you would put a photograph on the tin and then cover it with the magnetic frame, and then you could just put additional photos inside that you could switch out from time to time, and then the part that's cut out with the framelit you can put inside just as a nice little greeting. Our magnet sheets come in these long strips and they're 6 inches wide. So what I did was I just cut one of the magnet sheets at 4.5, and then I cut a piece of designer series paper from Attic Boutique the same size. The magnet sheet peels off to reveal a sticky side. I'm going to take the designer series paper and I'm going to very carefully line up these edges so that I can lay it on top of my magnetic sheet and adhere. Stampin' Up! Magnetic sheets are quite thick, so our framelits are not going to cut through the first time. I'm going to be using the third smallest framelit, and I'm going to place that over my magnet sheet with the cutting ridge pointed down, and then I'm going to take a couple of Post-it notes just to hold it in place. I'll sandwich this between 2 cutting plates on my multi-purpose platform that is closed and run it through the Big Shot. So as you can see, it did not cut all the way through, but it left an impression on the back so that I know where to line my framelit up this time. So I'm going to very carefully line the framelit up so that it fits exactly in the groove, and I'm going to put another Post-it note on there to hold that in place. I rotated my cutting pads so that the bottom one is now the top is the bottom, and I'm going to flip this around. And that's going to stop your cutting plates from warping, because you want a nice flat cutting pad to cut your framelits with. And then run this whole thing through the Big Shot again. When it comes out of the Big Shot, it should be cut all the way through. And you might have to just work it out a little bit. You're going to press that whole thing through. So this is not only going to give you your little magnetic frame, but it's going to give you a little cutout to decorate later. To decorate this, I'm going to take some sticky strip, and I'm just going to make one line across my project, and I'm just going to trim the edge. Once I remove this, I'm going to take a piece of crumb cake seam binding, and I'm going to overhang this project and just go straight across with my seam binding, and then again overhang the other side. I'm going to take another piece of sticky strip and I'm going to put that across my seam binding and then trim that. Once I remove the backing from the sticky strip, I'm going to take our Chantilly ribbon and I'm going to lay that right on top of my seam binding. And again, overhang the project. I'm going to trim these edges off from the back so that it's perfectly flush with my project. Once that's done, take another piece of Chantilly and one of our brads, and you're going to just open this brad up as wide as you can. I'm going to use my paper piercer to do that, and just pull down on those edges, and then I'm going to create the bow like this, and then I'm just going to take this center part right here and I'm going to squeeze it together and stick it in that brad as far as I can, and then I'm going to bend those brad prongs down to hold it in. Once that's done, you're going to take your edges of your ribbon and you're going to fix it until the bow looks the way you want, and then you're going to decoratively trim the edges of your ribbon. I'm going to use a couple of our mini glue dots to adhere this bow to the front of the project. And now I'm going to make a couple of little roses to go on the front of the project. And I'm going to do that by taking my 1 1/4 inch circle punch and some pool party paper. And we'll punch out 2 pool party circles. And then we're going to take our 1 inch circle punch and we're going to take another piece of cardstock and we're going to pop out a 1 inch circle. You're going to take each of these circles and you're going to spiral cut them. Just take your scissor and move your circle in a circle as you spiral toward the center. Next, you're going to take a little wooden skewer and you're going to just wrap that cardstock right around itself. Just keep spiraling toward the center. Once you've gone all the way around, you slide that off, and it's going to be in the shape of your rose. And then you can hold it between your fingers and just relax it a little bit. When you get to that point, you're going to just take that little piece off the back and push this onto a mini glue dot. And that's going to hold all those little pieces inside. And then I just press that center piece right down on that. So that here's my rose. Okay? Now what I like to do also is I like to take one of these mini glue dots and I like to put it right down there in the center, and that'll hold the pieces in as well. And then I like to decorate it using one of our pearls. So I'm going to take one of our larger pearls and I'm going to put that right in the center and then just work it down there. Okay? And then when you're satisfied with that, you're going to just put another glue dot or two on the back of the rose, and then just put that wherever you want on your project. The next thing I want to do is put a greeting here on the front, and I'm also going to be decorating that extra piece that we had that was the punch out from here. So I'm going to do two greetings. The first one I'll do is Live in the Sunshine, and the second one is A Grateful Heart, and these are both from Pursuit of Happiness. I'm going to be stamping both of them in Pool Party ink. First one, I'm going to line up my smallest framelit. I'm going to use a post-it note to hold it in place, and it's best if you don't use cheap post-it notes because they tend to stick to the paper. And then I'm going to run this through the Big Shot. Once this comes out of the Big Shot, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to sponge the edges with soft suede ink. I'm going to line up the second image, center it in my framelit, use my post-it note to hold it in place, and run this through the Big Shot. I'm going to take my second greeting and I'll sponge that as well. And then I want to do a border around this one with soft suede cardstock. So I'll take my framelit and I'll get the next largest size and I'll use that to frame it. I'm going to line my framelit up, put a little post-it note on here, make a sandwich in my cutting plates, and run this through the Big Shot. Once I have my frame, I'll just put a little adhesive on the back of this, line up my points, take my center piece out, line this up on top. Once I do that, I'm going to decorate it by taking 3 of these attached pearls and just placing them down here at the bottom. And then that's going to go on the inside of my stamp case. For the cover, I'm going to take a whole strip of these pearls. Doesn't matter how many, just, you know, I'd say 5, 6, 7, whatever you have. And just pick them up and then center them at the bottom here and stick them. I'm going to adhere this using Stampin' Dimensionals, and because this is going to be handled, I want to make sure that I have enough on there, so I'll put at least 3. I'm going to center this right on here and adhere it. And once I do my other roses, this is what I'm going to end up with. Another thing that I like to do is the edge of my flowers, I like to paint a little smooch on them. So if you like a little bling, feel free to go ahead and do that. And you just dip it in the container, and I just rub it sideways on the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then it gets a whole row of them all at once. That's your preview project for today. If you like what you see, we're at www.stampacademy.com. Project Parade Spring Edition begins April 1st. This is one of your preview projects. You will be getting 6 weeks of projects, minimum of 25. So you get about 4 a week. And we'd love to have you. So if you have any questions, you can email us at mail@stampacademy.com.